Okay, so we've done a whole bunch where we didn't have to worry about direction very much. Okay, where we were mostly dealing with scalar quantities, total distance, total time, average speed. Okay, and a little bit more comes into play when we have to consider what direction things are going. Okay, seems like from the quiz you guys get the scalar stuff pretty well. Okay, so what I want to do now is spend today working on the vector stuff related to that. And we've done a couple of questions in class to do with vector, but we need a little bit of practice with that. And then probably tomorrow, we'll start into graphing. Okay? So for now, what I would like you guys to do is in your digital workbook, okay, for Unit 3, okay, so your digital workbook for Unit 3, okay, so it's this one here. On page, at the very bottom of page 1 is where the vector quantities questions start, okay, and they continue on to page 2. Those are what I would like you working on, okay. Just kind of get started on those. I'll circulate and check on how we're doing. If you need some help, okay, then just ask, and I can work through a couple of things with you. If any of these give us trouble, just ask and we'll do them on the board. Okay, I have a few that I'll probably want to do on the board as a class. Okay, but for now, let's just kind of practice doing these vector ones. They set up a lot like the ones on the first one on the quiz, but we have to remember that now direction matters. Okay. All right, so I'll give you guys a chance to get started on that. I'll make this a little bit bigger, but you're probably better off to have it on your phone, okay, at your desk. Who said I wanted that? There we go. Thanks. Okay. All right, so you guys can get started on those, and then like you say, I'll circulate. Oh, man. Okay. All right, so with our first one here, so they're riding an elevator. They're going to ascend 26 floors. So they're going to go up 260 meters. And then they're going to descend 150 meters. And that whole thing takes 240 seconds, I believe, right? Sorry, this is doing something weird with the lettering. Whole trip takes a total of 240 seconds. Okay, so if the whole thing takes 240 seconds, that's the total time. Agreed? So I don't have to do what I did on some of the other questions where I was figure out the time for each part. I don't have to do that. They told me the total time is 200, not meters, seconds. Okay. How do I find her displacement? She started here on the ground, went up 260, and came back down 150. How far is it here?
Well, I was just going to say you subtract 150 from 260.
Exactly. So it's 110, right? 110 meters above or up. Okay? So my total displacement is 110 meters up. Well, now I can calculate average velocity because I have the total displacement and the total time. So that's going to be 110 meters divided by 240 seconds, which should give me 0.458 meters per second up. Right? So it's a matter of when I read the question through, I saw that it said the whole trip took 240 seconds. Okay? That meant that wasn't a time for part 1, it wasn't a time for part 2, it was the total. Right? So if I was, writing down my givens the same way I always do, okay, part 1, the displacement is 260 meters up, okay, that was all I was given. In part 2, okay, the displacement was 150 meters down, and then I had the total. Okay, well the total time, sorry, I'm not over here, 240 seconds. Okay, those were my givens. That's what I got from the question, so then I knew, all right, to get the total displacement, I've got to subtract those two numbers. And I already have the total time, so I don't have to do anything with that. And then just plug in. Everybody okay with that? So that one's kind of like, there was a bit of a reading comprehension trick being played in there. Okay, I have to read that question carefully so I know what I get. Okay, any other ones?
Number 3.
3? Yeah. Okay, so in number 3, the jetliner is moving at 350 kilometers per hour east for 45 minutes. All right, so is that actually a speed? It's actually a velocity. They gave me a direction on that. Okay, so the velocity in part 1 is 350 kilometers per hour. Okay, and the time is 45 minutes. Do my time units match? So what should I convert? The speed or the time? The time. Convert it to? Hours. Yeah. 45 minutes is how many hours? 0.75 is 3/4 of an hour. Okay, so 0.75 hours. Okay. Part 2. Okay, travels, oh sorry, this is east. I gotta put that on there, east. Okay, second part travels west at 375 kilometers per hour, and it does that for 30 minutes, which is how many hours? 25 hours. Okay. How far did the plane travel? Okay, so what do I have to find for each part right now? Yeah, I got to find the distance / displacement, okay, for each of these parts here. So V equals d over t, okay, so that means I'm going to multiply both sides by t, bring it over here, okay, so d will equal 350 times 0.75. So they're only going to go 262.5 kilometers. Okay, so D equals 262.5 kilometers east. The east won't be important for distance, but it will be important when they ask me for the displacement, and that's it. Okay, so I have to do the same thing here for part 2. I have the same information, so it's the same calculation, V times T. 375 times 5. Okay, 187.5 kilometers west. Okay, how do I find my total distance? I have the displacement for part 1, I have the displacement for part 2. Okay, what do I do with those two numbers that go one distance? Add them together, and I don't care about the direction. Okay, so 262.5 plus 187.5 will give me my total distance, which should be 450 kilometers. Okay, so all I did was take 262.5 plus 187.5, okay, and I got my 450. To get the displacement, what do I do differently? Yep. Brent, what do I do? What do I do differently? Yeah, I subtract them. One is east and the other is west. I would subtract the smaller from the bigger, okay, because I obviously don't go as far west as I went east. That means I'm going to end up east of where I started. Okay, so I'm going to take that 262.5 and subtract the 187.5. So we end up 75 kilometers east of where we started. Okay? And average speed. Okay, did I already do most of the work to calculate average speed? Because I already have the total what? I already have the total distance. That's what part A asked me to calculate. So I already have that. So to calculate average speed, I'm going to take my total distance, which I already did all the work for, 450 kilometers, and divide it by the total time. 0.5 hours plus 0.75 hours is 1.25 hours. Okay, if I divide those two things, I should end up with 360 kilometers per hour. Okay, so the trick with that one was probably deciding which units to use. Okay, if at all possible, you want to keep your speeds units, whatever they are, and make everything else match. It's easier to convert distance and time than it is to convert velocity. Okay? Any other ones? Okay, keep going then, see if any others come up here. Let me suggest, how many people are, let's say, to number 9. Okay. Yeah. All right, let's have you guys try number 9. Okay. Very much like the elevator question, because a submarine is really just an underwater elevator. And you can also move horizontally, but yeah. Give that one a try.